Okay, so now we're talking about writing your book, and we're talking about writing your book quickly, right? So, for those of you all who are working on nonfiction books, we need to pick a format for our books. We need to know exactly how we're going to structure it so that we can pump it out, right? So, let's go into some of the details around nonfiction titles. Now, when you think about nonfiction titles, there are various types, right? So there are a lot of different types of nonfiction books. You have narrative nonfiction. What is narrative nonfiction? Think of a memoir, right? Think of like a personal essay. It's something that is telling a story, and you can lean on many storytelling techniques. So setting the pace, talking about your characters, having some tension in there, having some type of like pull and the response between you and the main character of your book. All of those are things that fiction writers employ, and you can also employ those with your narrative nonfiction books as well. Now remember, there's a full handout that goes in detail into this as well. So feel free to download that handout, and you'll see more details around that as well. All right, so expository writing, what is that? That is basically when you are there to explain something to someone else. So it could be a specific topic. Maybe you're explaining how fracking works, or maybe you're explaining how to cut a diamond. That is where expository writing comes in. This can also employ some creative or some descriptive techniques, but really your goal is to explain something to the reader. That's there. Persuasive writing. Remember when you had to write a persuasive essay? You're trying to pull somebody to your side. So that's like an op-ed that you would see in the newspaper or a political speech, anything where you're trying to convince someone of what you believe or what you think, pull them to your side. That's persuasive writing. Descriptive writing can be creative, as we mentioned in the narrative nonfiction, but it's just detailing ways in order to pique the reader's interest. So, for example, if you're writing about your trip to Bermuda, I know you guys are probably tired of hearing me talk about Bermuda right now, but if you're talking about your trip to Bermuda, or you're a travel writer, okay, or maybe you are a food critic and you're writing about the recent trip you took to the restaurant, you're going to describe that in a way that makes the reader want to taste that food, that makes the reader want to step their foot into that turquoise water and the waves, as they call them, swells hitting the ocean. You're going to describe that in ways that keep the reader's interest. So that's what we're talking about when it's descriptive writing. It's not just remote, it's not, or it's not just dry language. It's descriptive, that's pulling them in, that makes them want to keep reading. Okay, so those are the four different types of nonfiction books. So here are some examples. We have Eat, Pray, Love. Many people know about that. It was a memoir, right? So it's based on her true experiences. This is not fiction because she actually went through these processes. She actually went through these experiences, and then she's writing about it. And you can actually really get in trouble if you build your book as a memoir, like as it's your story, but you add a lot of fiction to it and you make up things, you get in trouble. So there have been plenty of examples around that. So that's not what you want to do. If you want to write your story, um, and you don't want to share everything, or you want to bring some things in there that are not true, then you just need to write that as a fiction book based on the story of such and such and such and such. That is different. But if you say a memoir or if you say an autobiography, it has to be 100% true. So nonfiction is nonfiction. Fiction, it can be, it is not fact, right? It doesn't have to be true. These books must be true. Okay, so now in the middle, cookbook. We mentioned about that. So cookbooks can be written in two different ways. They can be written very descriptively, where it makes someone want to go out and buy those ingredients and start that recipe, or it can be written in a way that's just, regular cookbooky. 1 cup of this. So you have some creative license there. Okay, now look at Lynette Califani's book, Zero Debt for College Grads. Over here, this is what? This is a explanatory, expository type of book. This is where she's presenting a topic, an issue, and she's explaining how to go about that. In this case, how to get freedom from your student loans. So, of course, that's going to be written in a different way than a cookbook. All right, now let's keep going. A list book, 1,000 places to see before you die, right? Those types of books are simple. They're easy to pump out. Yes, you have to do some research, but it's not a lot of writing that you're going to go into that. That's going to go into that. So that's not a book that someone's going to pick up, read from cover to cover in one sitting, right? That's not the way that type of book works. It's a reference type of book. You pick it up, you get inspired, sit it down. You see it again, you pick it up, you get inspired, you sit it down, you know? So if that's a format that will fit your book and your message, then go ahead with that. The middle is a collection of biographies of African American women chemists, right? So now here the author can use some descriptive writing techniques. They can use some narrative nonfiction techniques, but those are true stories about those women chemists. Okay, and it's a collection of them. So it's not about the life of one chemist. It's a short. It's a collection. It's a collection of short biographies of multiple people, which is different, right? All right, the last one on this page is Who Moved My Cheese, which is kind of a parable. It is explaining one particular topic. It is almost persuasive in a way, trying to pull you to a particular way of thinking, but it's using fictional type of mentality. So it's like a parable, okay? So that's different. Okay, now, so you want to pick the type of book, you want to pick the format that is going to work best for your audience, your subject, your goals, and your time frame. Okay? Why is that important? Because if you sit down and you said that I am going to write stories of all of the women judges in my area, and that's what you're setting out to do, that is going to be a different type of book than you writing one book on one judge, for example. So all right, let me give you a quick example here. So, like Glue, the little book of marriage advice we should have stuck to from the beginning. When we first set out to write this book, I had the idea where I was going to have a piece of advice, and then Halim, my husband, was going to write the man's perspective commentary on that. I was going to write the woman's perspective, and give some commentary on that. So, every piece of advice would have a mini essay by him and a mini essay by me. Now we did about four of them like that, and then basically that wasn't going to happen. Like Halim was too busy, he couldn't put the time into that, or he didn't want to put the time into that at that point. So I could either say, okay, we're not going to do this book, or I could change the format to fit my life and what we had going on, and that's what we did. So what we decided to do was to make this a book where it's nice, it's simple, it's easy. It has a light feel to it. So every page has one piece of advice. Every page has one piece of advice. Even the font that we selected to this gave it a light and airy type of feel. Okay. So when you do a list book, or you do an advice book, something like this, you can cut down on the amount of time that it's going to take you to pump that book out. So what we did was we cut out the commentaries. We did do an introduction, of course, and then we just have it with the one piece of advice on the page. So you can see how that format is much different than like my first book, Jihad of the Soul. For those of you all who have read that, that's a more academic text. That's a text heavy. It follows a particular uh, method, showing methodology and all of those types of things. That's much different from this type of book here, the advice book. Okay, so what I want you all to walk away from this video is that you can have some creative license with the way that you're going to structure your book. Okay, so now the next thing that we want to do, once you have that format in mind. I want you to find a model book for yourself. There's nothing that says that you can't use what has worked for other people. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. Now, so I want you to take a field trip, and you're going to go to the library or you're going to go to the bookstore. And really, I want you to actually be like in the bookstore or in the library, because you do need to pick up the book and you need to kind of run through it. If you are only working on the ebook, then yes, you can maybe go to Amazon and click on the look inside. But when you're doing this and you're picking your model book, you want to be able to see the full book. So I do like to do that in hand and hold the books in hand. So go and look for books that are either on similar or the same exact topic as yours, and something that is fitting to something that has the same type of format, the structure that you are thinking about using for your book. You want to find around 2 to 4 books like that. Okay, so you're looking at things that are similar to yours, or even if it's not the similar topic, it's this type of structure that you want to use, and you're going to model your book after that. You're not going to plagiarize the actual words that the author put in their book, but you're going to model your book after the structure. So what do? From there, then you're going to plan your book based onto that model book. So how many pages is that? How many chapters is that? How many words is that? Is it a list book? Is it going to be a compilation book? Is it going to be an anthology, which is a compilation of essays, a collection of essays written by other authors? So that's another type of nonfiction book that I actually did not mention earlier. So an anthology is where you get contributions from other authors on your central theme. So you are the editor, you are the curator, if you will, but you're not writing 100% of the text. Okay, so again, you see that you have a lot of different ways that you can go about this. Okay, so your homework for this is to find a model book for yourself and decide on your structure. All right, I'll see you all in the next video.